Let me tell you something no one in your life has ever had the courage to say to your face. Nobody is thinking about you, not the way you think they are. Right now, at this very second, while you're lying awake rehearsing a conversation you had 3 days ago, while you're checking your phone for the 5th time, hoping someone noticed, while you're shrinking yourself in a room full of people so you don't seem too much. The people you're performing for are not watching. They're busy. They're lost in their own fear, their own insecurity, their own invisible war inside their own skull. And here is the brutal, liberating, earth-shattering truth that Stoic philosophy has been trying to hand you for over 2,000 years. The moment you truly understand that nobody is watching as closely as you think, that is the moment you finally become free. This is not a video about becoming cold. This is not a manual for isolation. This is not permission to become numb. This is a reckoning. This is the philosophical equivalent of someone grabbing you by the shoulders, looking you dead in the eye and saying, "Stop spending your one and only life auditioning for an audience that isn't even paying attention." You have been giving away the most precious thing you own, your peace of mind, to people who will not remember what you wore last Tuesday. You have been hemorrhaging your mental energy, trying to manage the perceptions of people who are too consumed with managing their own. And the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius writing alone in his war tent, Epictetus speaking in chains, Seneca facing the order of his own execution, they all arrived at the same radical conclusion. Your worth is not a number to be tallied by others. It is a fire that burns from within. So if you've ever felt invisible and then punished yourself for wanting to be seen, this is for you. If you've ever stayed in a room too long, laughed too loud, or apologized too much, this is for you. If you've ever made a decision based on what people might think instead of what you actually believe, this is for you. Stay until the end, because by the time we're done, you will not see yourself or the people around you the same way ever again. Before we get into the philosophy, before we hand you the Stoic tools, we need to do something first. We need to name what's actually happening, because most people who come to videos like this already sense the problem. They feel the weight of it. They know something is wrong with the way they're living, always watching themselves, always editing, always performing for a crowd that didn't ask for the show. But they haven't been told the truth about it yet. Not the comfortable version, not the therapeutic softening, the actual unvarnished truth about what this pattern is costing you, where it comes from, and why most people never break free of it. So that's where we start. 5 truths, the kind that sting going in and heal going out. Let's go. Truth 1. Most people who judge you have not solved their own life. This is not an insult. This is a map. The person who has the most to say about how you're living your life is almost always the person who is most at war with their own. Judgment requires distance. And the people who spend the most energy watching you from across the room are the ones who are least capable of looking inward. The damage this causes: you take their criticism seriously. You let it land. You adjust your course based on the commentary of people who have no qualification to advise you. The Stoic solution: ask not what they think of you. Ask what their life reveals about the quality of their thinking. Then weight their opinion accordingly. You would not take medical advice from someone who had never studied medicine. Do not take life advice from someone who has never studied how to live. Truth 2. The people pleaser is the loneliest person in the room. There is a particular kind of suffering that comes from being surrounded by people who like a version of you that doesn't exist. You have performed so long, adjusted so consistently, curated yourself so carefully, that the warmth you receive is directed at a character, not at you. This is the invisible tax of people-pleasing. You get the approval you worked for, and it still feels like nothing, because it was given to a mask. The damage: you can be in a room full of love and feel completely alone, because none of the love is actually landing on you. The Stoic solution: Choose authentic rejection over inauthentic acceptance. It sounds terrifying. It is at first. But one person who sees you clearly is worth more to your inner life than 1,000 who applaud the performance. Epictetus said it plainly. It is impossible to begin to learn that which one thinks one already knows. You cannot receive real connection while pretending to be someone you are not. Drop the character. Find your people. Truth 3. When you stop needing their validation, their power over you dies. This is the one most people discover too late and wish they had known sooner. The person who has been making you feel small, inadequate, unseen, their power is not inherent. You lent it to them. The moment you stop needing their approval, the loan comes due and the dynamic collapses. The damage it does before you realize this. You remain in situations, relationships, workplaces, family dynamics, long past the point they serve you, because some part of you is still trying to earn something that isn't coming. The Stoic mechanism, amor fati, love of fate, acceptance of what is, which includes the acceptance that some people will never see your value, not because it isn't there, but because they are not equipped to recognize it. The moment you fully accept that their validation is never coming and that you don't need it, is the moment the cell door opens. You were never locked in. You just stopped walking out. Truth 4. Your sensitivity is not the problem. Your misplaced sensitivity is. You are not too sensitive. You are too sensitive to the wrong things. Feeling deeply is not a flaw. It is a form of intelligence. The capacity to be moved, to be troubled, to be lit up by beauty, or broken open by injustice. This is the full operation of being human. The problem is not that you feel. The problem is where you are directing that feeling. You are spending profound emotional sensitivity on things that do not deserve it. A stranger's glance, a casual comment, a social media metric, and leaving yourself numb and depleted for the things that actually matter. The Stoic practice here is triage. You do not eliminate emotion. You sort it. You ask, does this deserve my emotional energy? Is this proportionate to what I'm feeling? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The mental anguish you experience over imagined judgments is almost always worse than the judgment itself would be if it were even happening. Direct your sensitivity inward toward your own values. Direct it outward toward the people who have genuinely earned your care, and withdraw it firmly and without guilt from those who have not. Truth 5. Setting boundaries will lose you some people. Good. This is the one nobody says out loud. When you begin to establish genuine limits, when you stop being infinitely available, when you decline to explain yourself for the 100th time, when you finally say no without an essay-length justification attached, some people will leave. Not because you changed for the worse, but because the thing they valued in you was your inability to say no to them. The damage of never learning this. You hold yourself in positions of service to people who have confused your generosity for obligation. And the resentment builds quietly until the relationship is nothing but a performance of obligation from which neither party derives anything real. The Stoic framework. Justice is one of the 4 cardinal virtues, and justice includes justice to yourself. The Stoics did not teach servility. They taught right relationship, giving what is right to give, withholding what would be wrong to give. A relationship that only functions while you are diminished is not a relationship. It is an arrangement. And arrangements deserve to be renegotiated. The people who stay when you draw your line, those are your people. Now you know the truth. You know what this pattern costs you. You know where the power actually lives. You know the real reason you've been giving it away. But knowing the truth is not enough. The Stoics were not interested in theory for its own sake. They were interested in applied philosophy, wisdom that works, wisdom that holds, wisdom you can carry into the worst moments of your life and find it still standing when everything else has collapsed. So now we do the work. 10 lessons, 10 principles from the greatest philosophical tradition the ancient world ever produced. Not for academics, not for classroom debate, for you. For the moment the judgment comes, for the moment the crowd turns, for the moment your worth is questioned by someone who was never qualified to measure it. Here is how you protect your peace. Here is how you know your self-worth. Here is how you stop being moved by the wind of other people's opinions and become someone who moves themselves. Lesson 1. The crowd is a mirror that lies. There is a man most people have never heard of, a Roman Stoic philosopher named Musonius Rufus. He was the teacher of Epictetus, the man who would go on to influence Marcus Aurelius. But Musonius himself, he was exiled, twice, by 2 different emperors. His crime, speaking truth in public without the softening comfort of flattery. When asked how he felt about being driven from his home, stripped of his status, sent to a barren island to dig ditches in hard labor, Musonius said something that stopped everyone in the room cold. He said, "I am not harmed unless I believe I am harmed." Here is what Musonius understood that most people spend an entire lifetime never grasping. The crowd is not a mirror. It is a funhouse mirror, distorted, flickering, changing its angle based on nothing more than lighting and mood and who else is standing nearby. When you look to other people to tell you who you are not receiving an accurate reflection. You are receiving their fear, their projection, their own unprocessed wounds dressed up as judgments about you. A person who calls you too quiet is usually someone terrified of silence. A person who calls you too intense is usually someone who has never allowed themselves to feel anything fully. A person who says you're too ambitious is usually someone who gave up on their own ambitions and cannot bear to watch you pursue yours. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control, and it is the single most powerful framework for mental freedom ever constructed. There are things within your control, your thoughts, your choices, your values, your effort, your response. There are things outside your control, other people's opinions, other people's moods, other people's judgments. The moment you stop treating things outside your control as though they are your responsibility, everything changes. You cannot control what the crowd says. You can only control whether you hand the crowd a microphone inside your own mind. Stop giving it the microphone. Lesson 2. Silence is not weakness, it is the armor of the wise. In 65 AD, the Roman Emperor Nero ordered his former tutor to die. The man was Seneca, playwright, philosopher, one of the most brilliant minds of the ancient world. He had spent decades in Nero's court, watching corruption from the inside, writing letters late into the night about the nature of a good life. And when the order came, when the soldiers arrived at his villa, Seneca did not beg, he did not collapse, he did not scramble to explain himself to people who had already decided. He sat down, he opened his veins, and he spoke calmly to his friends who were weeping around him, reminding them that a life lived in virtue does not need to be defended at its ending. He had nothing left to prove. This is what the Stoics teach us about silence. It is not the language of the defeated. It is the language of those who are so certain of their own worth that they have no need to convince others of it. Think about how much energy you spend justifying yourself, explaining your choices to people who didn't ask, defending your decisions to people who wouldn't understand, shrinking your truth to fit inside someone else's comfort. The Stoic principle here is called hegemonikon, the ruling faculty, the idea that your inner mind, your rational governing center, is the highest authority in your life, not your mother's opinion, not your colleague's raised eyebrow, not the comment section. When you truly inhabit your own ruling faculty, when you become the sovereign of your own mind, you stop needing to explain yourself to every passerby. Silence becomes your armor, not because you have nothing to say, but because you understand that some audiences are simply not worth the performance. Lesson 3. The gaze of others is a prison with no walls. There is a concept in modern psychology called the spotlight effect, the documented, scientifically verified cognitive bias where human beings dramatically overestimate how much other people notice them. Researchers have tested this repeatedly. They will have someone walk into a room wearing a mildly embarrassing t-shirt. The person is certain everyone noticed. The studies consistently show barely anyone did. Most people estimate roughly 50% of the room clocked them. The actual number is closer to 20%. The Stoics arrived at this same truth through pure philosophy 2,000 years before the research. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most watched man on earth at the time, wrote in his private journal something that should make you stop and breathe. How many of Fabius, Scipio, Cato, yes, and nigh the whole city of Rome, have faded from memory? How many a brilliant man of talent lies forgotten? He was the most powerful man alive, and he understood, in the quiet of his own thoughts, that the gaze of others is temporary, that the crowd's attention is a river that moves on regardless. The prison you believe you're in, the prison of other people's constant observation, has no walls. You built it yourself from fear and assumption. Here is what actually happens when you make the brave choice, when you speak your truth, when you walk differently from the crowd. Most people don't notice. The ones who do notice forget within 3 days. The ones who remember are either inspired or threatened, and both of those reactions are about them, not you. The Stoics had a practice for dismantling this prison. They called it memento mori. Remember that you will die, not as a morbid obsession, as a precision tool for liberation. Because when you hold the reality of your own mortality clearly in your mind, when you ask yourself, will this person's opinion matter in 10 years, in 20, at the last breath? The prison dissolves. Lesson 4. Your approval. Hunger is costing you your life. There was a Stoic philosopher named Musonius Rufus who wrote an essay that historians largely ignored for centuries. It was called On Food, but it was not really about food at all. It was about appetite. Musonius argued that the desire for external pleasure, for approval, for comfort, for the soft warmth of other people's good opinion, operates exactly like an insatiable hunger. The more you feed it, the larger it grows. The more likes you receive, the more likes you need. The more praise that comes in, the louder the silence becomes when the praise stops. This is the trap. And modern neuroscience has confirmed what Musonius intuited through reason alone. The brain's reward system processes social approval through the same pathways as chemical addiction, a hit of validation, a withdrawal into anxiety when it stops. You are not weak for wanting to be seen. That desire is ancient and human and real, but you must understand what it costs you when it runs unchecked. Every time you change your opinion to match the room, you lose a piece of your own voice. Every time you don't say the thing you actually believe because you're afraid of judgment, you practice silence when you should be practicing courage. Every time you measure your worth by how many people noticed, you hand your self-esteem to a system that is random, inconsistent, and completely indifferent to your actual value. The Stoic answer is not to become a stone. It is to build what Marcus Aurelius called the inner citadel, a fortress at the center of yourself that cannot be taken by siege. The question is not whether other people approve of you. The question is whether you approve of you. And that question can only be answered by looking inward. Lesson 5. The opinion of the mob has never once predicted greatness. Socrates was executed by public vote. Galileo was forced to recant his correct understanding of the universe or face death. Hypatia of Alexandria, mathematician, philosopher, one of the most brilliant minds of the ancient world, was dragged from her carriage and murdered by a mob because her ideas made people uncomfortable. The crowd has always been a poor judge of value. History knows this. The Stoics knew this. And somewhere in the quiet parts of you, you know this too. Epictetus said something that cuts like a blade. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. What he means is this: the mob cannot touch you without your permission. The opinion of 50 people, of 500, of 5 million, it carries no inherent weight. The weight is only what you assign to it, and you have been assigning it astronomical weight for things that deserve barely a glance. Here is a practice the Stoics actually used. When you feel the pull of external validation, when you feel yourself adjusting who you are to fit someone else's expectation, ask yourself one question: is this person someone whose life I admire? Do they live with the kind of virtue, wisdom, and integrity I aspire to? If the answer is no, why are you handing them authority over your mind? And if the answer is yes, even then their opinion is data, not decree. Lesson 6. Solitude is not loneliness. It is where strength is built. Most people confuse these two things their entire lives. Loneliness is the ache of being disconnected from others against your will. Solitude is the practice of going inward with intention. They feel similar from the outside, but they are as different as being lost in a dark forest and walking deliberately into the night to learn the stars. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire of millions. He was surrounded by advisors, generals, senators, petitioners, family, and enemies from the moment he woke until the moment he slept. And still he retreated into his journals. Still he carved out the interior space. Still he wrote the words that would become the meditations, not for publication, not for legacy, but for himself, as a daily practice of returning to his own center. He understood something crucial. A man who cannot be alone with himself is a man at the mercy of everyone else. If you cannot sit in a room with your own thoughts without reaching for your phone, without turning on background noise, without finding some external stimulation, you are not at peace with yourself. You are running from yourself. The Stoics prescribed a practice they called prosoche, self-attention, watchful presence. The daily act of turning inward, examining your own thoughts with the calm rigor of a philosopher, rather than the panic of someone caught in the current. In solitude, you learn who you actually are when no one is watching, and who you are when no one is watching. That is the only version of you that matters. Lesson 7. Detachment is not indifference. It is precision. People misread Stoicism constantly. They think it means not caring, becoming robotic, moving through life with cold indifference to everything and everyone. This is not Stoicism. This is depression wearing a toga. True Stoic detachment is surgical precision. It is caring deeply about the things genuinely worth caring about: your virtue, your relationships, your work, your growth, while releasing your grip on the things you cannot control. A master archer does not grip the bow so tightly that his hands shake. He holds it with intention and ease. He does his preparation with full discipline. He practices, he aims, he breathes, and then he releases the arrow and surrenders the outcome to the physics of the world. There is a little-known Stoic figure named Crates of Thebes, a man of considerable wealth who walked to the harbor one day and threw his entire fortune into the sea. He said, "I free you, Crates, by drowning your troubles." He spent the rest of his life as a wandering philosopher, materially destitute, by all public measures a failure, and by his own account, the happiest man he had ever known. Crates was not indifferent. He loved life deeply. He was simply precise about what deserved his emotional energy. Be moved, but do not be controlled. Care, but do not be consumed. Lesson 8. The truth about what other people think of you. Most of the people whose opinions you are managing, the ones you're performing for, shrinking for, editing yourself for, are not thinking about you at all. They are thinking about how they are being perceived. They are managing their own performance, worrying about their own judgment in the room. You are both on stage, watching each other's performances, each convinced the other is the audience. The philosopher Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, described the social world with precision. He said that our tendency to seek approval is rooted in a fundamental error, the belief that we exist in other people's minds the way we exist in our own. We don't. You live in your own mind in full 4K surround sound, with emotional commentary and a complete archive of every memory. You are the protagonist of an epic you've been narrating since you were born. To everyone else, you are a supporting character. Occasionally relevant, mostly background, frequently forgotten between scenes. This is not cruel. This is simply the nature of human consciousness. And when you internalize it, when you truly feel it rather than just intellectually acknowledge it, the performance anxiety dissolves. The desperate need to be understood lifts. Because if no one is watching as closely as you thought, you can stop rehearsing. You can simply be. Lesson 9. Build your inner citadel before the storm arrives. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the inner citadel, the fortress at the center of the self, that no external force could breach. He did not build that fortress when things were easy. He built it when he was a student, long before he became emperor, in the years when philosophy was still theory and life had not yet tested it. This is the lesson most people learn too late. You cannot build resilience during crisis. You build it in the quiet before the storm, so that when the storm comes, and it will come, you have somewhere to stand. The practice is not complicated, but it demands consistency. Every morning, before the world gets access to your attention, you return to your values. You remind yourself who you are, not who the world wants you to be. You ask, what is truly important today? What would a person of virtue do in my position? Every evening you review, not to punish yourself for failures, but to understand them. To close the day not with guilt, but with wisdom extracted from the hours just lived. And in the moments when someone's judgment threatens to breach your walls, you do what Epictetus taught. You pause, you breathe, you ask, is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, release. It is not more complicated than that. But it takes practice. It takes the daily discipline of someone who understands that peace of mind is not a lucky condition. It is an architecture, and you are the only one who can build it. Lesson 10. You are not responsible for being understood. This one is for everyone who has spent years trying to explain themselves to people who were never going to listen. Years of justification. Years of softening your truth to make it more palatable. Years of shrinking the complexity of who you are into something simple enough to fit inside someone else's limited understanding. Stop. You are not responsible for being understood. You are responsible for being you, clearly, fully, without apology. There is a moment in the writings of the philosopher and Stoic Empress Julia Domna, one of the most intellectually formidable women of the Roman imperial era, where she describes the torment of being surrounded by people who interpreted her intelligence as ambition, her curiosity as interference, her power as threat. She chose not to explain herself. She chose to continue. And history remembers her precisely because she did not make herself smaller to fit the comprehension of smaller minds. Your peace is not a negotiation. It does not require the other party's signature. You can be at peace even when you are misunderstood, even when you are underestimated, even when the version of you that exists in someone else's mind bears no resemblance to who you actually are. Because your worth, the real number, the accurate count, lives inside you, not in their perception of you. 2,000 years ago, a man sat in a cold tent at the edge of a war. He was the most powerful person on earth. He controlled the fate of millions. Armies moved at his word. Laws bent at his signature. And in the quiet before sleep, Marcus Aurelius opened a small book and wrote to himself, not for posterity, not for performance, just to remind himself of what mattered. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." He was not writing for us, but he might as well have been. Because here you are, 2,000 years later, carrying the same ache, facing the same trap, fighting the same invisible war inside your own chest. The war between who you actually are and the performance you think the world requires. And the Stoics across all those centuries are delivering the same verdict. The world does not require the performance. The performance is costing you everything. And the person you have been hiding, the one who exists when no one is watching, that person is already enough. Nobody cares about you the way you fear they do. And once you truly know that, once that lands in your chest and stays there, you are free. You were always free. Go live like it.